Hey everybody, so I'm here to tell you about the Ori 3.0. Man, gotta get that chatoyance, that terrified limba, as some I've heard call it. So let's jump right into my history, how I got here, what the heck's going on. There's a lot of stuff. So yeah, jump right into Head 5. Years ago, in my haste of grad school and everything, I started modding T50s, and this was kind of a way to get my feet wet. I started doing it not to start a business or ZMF headphones or anything. I started doing it as a way just to, enjoy the audio hobby and see if I could make something that I liked how it sounded. So this thread by Blue Monkey Flyer, look at this, look at all this stuff. Yeah, I mean, you can do, that's the thing about the T50 that's so cool. You can stuff like socks in it and call it the sock mod. Like it's pretty much like anything you want to do with a headphone and modding, you can go in here, and this is a great thread. And I think if you want to get into the headphone game, it's a great place to start. I don't know, it's where I started. Doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong, but it's just a really good place to find out about T50 modding and the differences between the models. I think it was the T50 Mark II out when this was going on. And actually, if you look up like vintage banjos, let's just look up SS Stewart, because I think they're awesome. And you can kind of see some of the ornamental inlays and stuff on the old SS Stewart and these old Boston banjos and other banjos like that. Like here's a banjarine. This is probably a great example. Look at these cool inlays. All this stuff on the headstock. This is kind of like what I aspire ZMF to be like. Kind of like a little ornate, kind of vintage looking. Like in my opinion, like look at that cool attachment rod for the neck. That is so neat. Look at the shape. That's just really cool stuff. And I don't know when this term steampunk was coined, but I know we get called steampunk. We can look it up real quick on Claude. It was coined in the late 1980s by science fiction author K.W. Jeter in a letter to Locus magazine in April 1987. It was a play on cyberpunk, which was the hot new subgenre. So yeah, I mean, the banjo is far before steampunk, but I do think it's a cool way to categorize ZMFs, if you will. But maybe we can coin ZMFs as banjo-punk. The next step is, after a few years of modding T50s, I decided I wanted to make my own wood T50 RPs. This is actually one of the, whoops, I almost dropped this guy. This is one of the very first. I was trying to do that cool, slightly burst finish. I did a little stain on this. This was sanded and made in my apartment down in west town of Chicago. And then it eventually led to do a more round shape, which was this model, now known as the Ori. But so a year and a half after the Omni came out, I got a cease and desist letter from a company that will go unnamed, but I will not buy headphones from, and is not really in the audiophile space. Sent me a cease and desist letter saying, you copied our name. And I think the headphone, it was some kind of Bluetooth headphone or something, and they said that customers were going to be confused. I think, I don't know, the law team needed something to do, and they probably went and looked after me to try to find something that they could potentially grasp onto to bill some hours or something. I remember talking to the lawyer, and I was having like freakouts at the time, really nervous. I was like, well, this is the end of ZMF. I mean, they're suing me. But really, they could hear my anxiety, and even they were like, it's not a big deal, just change the name or something. And so that's what I did. We went and we had a name change contest. Someone in the contest, gave the name Ori. We were like, all right, well, I guess Ori is a good name. we'll go for it. And Ori was kind of origin is the, I think part of the Latin terminology of that. So we decided to change the name to Ori. And this headphone, originally known as Omni, became known as the Ori. By the time we were really finally able to get our own planar drivers, I just ended up trying to have the best one made. It's much easier to use trickle-down technology and start with the high end for me than to go from the bottom up. So this is the original Caldera driver. Finding the right manufacturer to work with and do our design and have the Caldera asymmetrical magnet design was paramount in getting the same kind of sound that I originally got out of the Ori, which was kind of this open, very macro, bombastic sound. And I think that's what a lot of people know the Caldera for. And now the Ori, and the reason we're calling this Ori is that I was like, I want to do a T50 type headphone, but from the ground up, all proprietary parts. So just to be clear, this is a completely proprietary headphone. The ZMF Ori 3.0 uses a 6 Captain driver. What are the thicknesses of the T50 RP Mark 2, 3, and 4? What we found is that the ZMF one's 6 micron. The T50 RP Mark 2, it looks like teardown showed that it was 2 to 4 times thicker than the original T50, which was also 6 micron, which is really interesting. I actually did not know that the original T50 was 6 microns, the same that the ZMF Ori is using. So I think that's a really good breakdown. I'll save this and post it. Again, I can't speak for the validity of this information. It's ChatGPT. So this is the ZMFheadphones.com site way back from 2014, I think. So go to archive.org, and just going through the ZMF sites is a good way to see what we used to do, and you can really kind of see a lot of the history of ZMF and what we went from to what we are now. There's going to be a lot more videos on this. This is kind of just an intro to the name and what the Ori is. You can expect a very macro dynamic sound. That's kind of the sound of the original Ori, was bassy and bombastic. So you got the bass plug right there. You can pull that plug in or out to get more or less bass. We'll do measurements in another video, so you're going to want to check that out. But it's a very macro sound. I'm excited for you guys to hear it. A lot of good stuff here. I'm really excited because people just don't make headphones like this anymore with a thicker driver and this type of modern vintage sound. And I really think this encapsulates a lot of what ZMF's about. So I'm really pumped for you guys to hear it. All right, see you guys.